for this session are actually from the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support. They are through Illinois State University. So we have Dr. Amy Julian, and she's the director, and then Kirsten Baird, who is the online marketing coordinator. So I believe Kirsten is going to get us started.
Yes, thank you so much. We are really excited to present to you guys today on this topic. So we're going to just discuss some tips for working and teaching remotely. We are all in this world of where this is pretty much our only option for most of us to work remotely until further notice, right? So it changes every single day. I know for our center, we were supposed to go back in June, and then we were supposed to go back in July, and then it got pushed back until to be determined. And now they're telling us that we might not even go back to a more in-person schedule working at the university until June of 2021. So until the end of this fiscal year for us. And so that is just wild. So we are learning just along with everyone else how to best work remotely. And we have some prior knowledge and prior experience on this topic. So today we're going to be in our learning environment on this meeting. We're going to self-regulate, sit anywhere. You can feel free to stand or walk. Feel free to eat, fidget if you need to, tap your foot, whatever keeps you paying attention. And then we would love for you to interact with us and have an agenda, chat with us, raise your hand, doodle. And then we obviously are sharing our slides today. You will have a personal copy of these slides. We can feel free to send those out. And then we also try to, at our center, always offer closed captioning. We aren't offering that today, but it's a good best practice if you are able to implement that in your working from home environment. So what we're going to really cover today is best practices that you can put into work immediately, a quick review of technology to enable remote work, and then we'll happily answer any questions you have as our center has been pushing out so much professional development working remotely, and then we ourselves are working remotely as well. So I wouldn't say we're quote unquote experts, but I would say we're getting pretty close to being it because we've had so much experience. So our best practices, our top best practices for working remotely, and we've done multiple professional development trainings on these as well, is to reprioritize and focus on your output for working from home. And we'll go into that in a little bit more depth in future slides. And then adhere to routines, which is very common for people who are working from home to get out of their routine or to not know what their new routine should be. So we'll talk about that further. To focus on the positives, which can be hard to do in our current times with so much negativity in our world itself. To get your work from home infrastructure set up. So we'll cover that. To set work boundaries, those are even harder to implement now that we are working from home. Don't neglect workplace culture. This is something that a lot of universities and colleges and even classrooms teaching are lacking, is that work interaction. And then create a workspace. So to create an effective workspace, and then be strategic about communication and learning new skills as well. We have a lot of new time on our hands, so learning new skills is something that we can identify with and utilize that time for. So first, we're going to talk about reprioritizing and focusing on our output. So to streamline, identify essential work and areas of focus that can be done while working remotely. And then we want to eliminate non-essential meetings. So if we don't need to have a meeting about it, if we can chat about it, if you can use Microsoft Teams for it, if you can email about it, then you would want to do that. We don't need to be filling up our days with tons and tons of meetings. I know I'm on a ton of meetings. I know Amy can speak to this as well whenever she presents to us, but it seems like we're on meetings all day and then we're almost spent at the end of the day. And we almost don't have enough energy to even work on our projects. I know I feel like that from time to time, and I'm notorious for working late at night to get caught up on my emails and my projects because I'm so heavily involved in so many meetings. So I appreciate if we can eliminate non-essential meetings, then that's great. If it can be solved with something like a quick phone call, even. Consolidate to fewer collaboration tools. So don't try too many. That can get hectic with technology the way it is today. I know there's so many different collaboration tools. There's Microsoft Teams. There's obviously we utilize our emails. There's a ton of different collaboration. I know like Google has a chat function. And then like some LMS systems, if your college has one of those, have a chat function. I know I teach remotely at Richland Community College in Decatur. I adjunct on the side as well as working at our center. And we have our email, we have our LMS system for our students, Canvas, you can inbox through that. And then I have my work email for our center. You know, I have a lot of collaboration tools that I'm utilizing. And so keeping those separate as much as possible and minimizing them will help eliminate that confusion. And then focus. So be disciplined, clarify your team rules, and make sure everyone knows them on your team and in your home. So for example, our center, we know each other's hours, we know each other's, you know, at home situations, those who of us who have kids, those of us who have pets, those of us who have significant others, you know, those are distractions that when we're in the office, we don't have to deal with those distractions. And now that we're at home, those are things that are taking up our time, whether we realize it or not. My husband is a firefighter, and so he is on for 24 hours and off for 48 hours. So today he is actually at the firehouse and he will be at the firehouse until 6:30 tomorrow morning. So I get a lot more done on those days than when he's home, just because, you know, if he is home during the day and I'm in my office working, just him unloading the dishwasher and I can hear that is a distraction, right? So I have to be very disciplined in that, but it also helps that my whole team knows that that's a situation that I'm handling at home, working remotely. And so they can kind of empathize with that as well. And I
Here,
know a lot of
like
people.
there for a second.
Oh yeah,
Um,
go ahead, Amy.
Hi guys. I think the discipline is not only on you, but also having those open lines of communication with your family or whoever you're sharing your home with, right? We all have people in our house. My people are shorter, and like right now they're running the drill. I'm hoping you all can't hear that, but they're drilling lights into the underside of a bed that they have built, a little loft. So making sure individuals know the rules. So like, for example, right now on my door that you see there has something like this: Mom is in a meeting, do not enter. This is the time that I'm going to be in, and here's some answers to your questions. And mine also says, ask dad if dad is home. But I think one of the things that we've done in our house, which I think is really helpful, is kind of like what you would do with your team at work. Have that morning conversation. Because right now, because our schools just went remote again, right now my kids are all back with me. So they are
It's
all
on,
at
dude.
home. And so we have a lovely
David.
session.
Hi. You're not in this meeting, are you? Or are you? Shoot.
If we can mute mics because we're getting some additional comments there, that'd be great. But one of the things that we do as a family is we have a nice morning conversation that says, okay, this is what's going on. And it cracks me up sometimes because my 12-year-old's like, okay, I got to Zoom at this time and to Zoom at this time, and I got to get this done. I got to make a flip chart. Fantastic. But have those lines of communication open so we all know, or you all know within your home team when you have meetings. And same with Kirsten and her example of her husband. Maybe he's not there all the time, but the discipline is more for yourself, but clarifying those team rules, if you will, and talking with your supervisor. When do you have to have things done by? I'm guilty of working late. I'm not going to get up and get on at 6. No. Up to 11, sure. Up at 6, not so much. But my supervisor knows that, and I'll deliver my product. So think about it that way. The next bullet there is learn to be efficient with meetings. This is something that's really important. How many of you, show of hands, we're on Zoom, you can show of hands. How many of you have gone to a meeting that didn't have an agenda and didn't have outcomes? Anybody? Rend Lake never has those meetings, right? So we're good. But other places do. And there are meetings where they don't send out agendas ahead of time, or you don't know the outcomes of the meeting, or the WWW. Who knows what the WWW is? Who, when, and what? Who's attending? When are we attending? And what are we doing? So make sure your meetings have those things for learning to be efficient. Also, you want to be sure that your people know that it's the best use of their time. And so we used to say, could this meeting be an email? And that was kind of a joke. But during COVID, we've had some meetings that we're having for the sake of having meetings. The other thing with meetings is when you're working remotely, which you all are doing fantastic today, have your screens on so people can see your faces. When you're working with your students, ask them to have their screens on so you can see their faces. And then Kirsten, feel free to jump back and forth here, but consider creating a list of what you will deliver by the end of the day. Have you looked at those there's a lot of tips on how to prioritize your day, and that's the eat the worm comment. So eating the worm is finding that thing that you really don't want to do but has to get done and doing it at the beginning of the day. If you eat your worm at the beginning of the day, the whole rest of your day is going to be better because you have the big thing out of the way. So looking at different tips for prioritizing your to-do list is really helpful. Either put them in mine is always what's on fire. That's kind of my thing. But also we'll talk a little bit in a second here about the Ohio method, and only handle it once is the acronym for Ohio. Kirsten, anything you want to add to that session? That part?
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting myself. No, I would say also just, if you do feel that you need to schedule a meeting and you create that agenda beforehand, you might realize that you actually don't need to have a meeting for that. If you put that best practice of always creating an agenda, and then you can eliminate those things and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to start creating this agenda for this meeting that I want to have. Okay, actually, we really only need to touch on one or two things. So maybe this could be a phone call. Maybe this could be an email instead. So doing that agenda and making that a best practice will help also maybe eliminate unnecessary meetings that you go into your day wanting to schedule and then realize you don't really need to schedule them.
So this next quote is a really fun way to look at remote work. In remote work environment, you're entirely judged by the volume and quality and the timeliness of your output. In this way, remote work is a great equalizer, and you may find it gives you an opportunity to shine. So if you are somebody who thrives in the work environment, and I have two young men in my house. One loves remote learning, is doing great. And the other one is a social butterfly and is struggling because he thrives off of other individuals. And so I'm sure our students are that way, as well as our partners, our friends, our colleagues are all that way as well. So the next thing we want to jump into is getting your infrastructure set up. And we're 8 months into this game, so I'm going to guess most of you have your infrastructure set up. Is that true? Yes? So we're going to run through these a little quickly, but work from home really stands for work from home. So that's some acronyms. One of the things that we want to do is how do we designate our space? So your college, I'm sure they do. They have your IT helplines open. Be sure you work with your college and your IT people. There are great people there to support you. My favorite IT guy is named Sam, and I think I talk about him, I talk about my kids because I talk to him just about as much as I talk to my kids. So make friendly with your IT people, and they're really going to be a great asset to you. Look at what you can order online that could help. Examples for like a docking station. Do you need monitors, things like that? I don't know. Many of you look like you're in your offices today, so I'm guessing you're not on the same shutdowns that McLean County is where I'm here. But at the same time, what can you do to make your home office better? And let me give you a crazy example here. So this is my home office. There's my one monitor. There's my keyboard. I have all kinds. So I have a laptop, a monitor that I took from the office, and then my iPad all here as well. So set up your office and what works for you. Headphones are your best friends. Okay, love these things. Now, today I don't have them on because I'm hoping the drilling is low. I can't really hear it as much anymore, but it really does help you rein in the noise of your area. And then there's also some great noise canceling headphones if you need that. Technology tools, think about the tools that you need, and we'll talk a little bit about those as we move forward, but Microsoft Teams is something that our team specifically had used, like we were aware of, but we didn't really use the way we do now that we're all remote. So being remote really has pushed us into utilizing Microsoft Teams for sharing, for collaboration, and all of those great things. And then be sure your internet is good. I joke, but it's absolutely true. My internet is shot from the town of Bloomington to a grain elevator and then to my house. I live in rural central Illinois, and I've been to Red Lake, and I know that you're not exactly in the middle of Chicago either. So make sure your internet, you have good internet connection. And then don't forget how powerful your mobile phone is. If you need a hotspot, that can save your day, really, if your internet goes down. So think about that as a resource. So moving along here, because we've got tons of fun stuff to get to. I love this little picture. Reprioritize and focus on your output. You have to bring the discipline to keep these distractions away. So you're at home, and this little thing down here shows, COVID-19 brings Washington families closer together, and you have all of her asking for things. She has a deadline, and then they're all asking for different things that they need. This does happen, I think, across the country, definitely in our home, and looking at ways in which we can really reprioritize and then set those boundaries. I am fortunate that I have a door. I have held meetings with individuals who are literally in their closets talking because that's the only door that they have access to. So we're going to also talk about your workspace. Next slide there is remote working and parenting. There might be a couple of you, oh, I skipped one on mine, not on yours. There might be a couple of you who are parents or grandparents or have just some other individual living in your house with you. So make sure everyone has a workspace. That is something that I joked about and laughed about when we first, back in March, went on our home hiatus, but has really been an asset. So both of my boys have desks in their room. My husband has commandeered the front dining room table, and I got the back office. Accept reality. It's not going to be perfect. It's not always going to work exactly the way you want it to. There has to be things that you think on the fly. That's okay. That's life. And that it worked that way before. One of the things that's really important is think about when you were teaching or when you were presenting or when you were collaborating on campus and you were all in the room. If something went wrong, if the projector went out, if things didn't go right, you adapted, right? You were flexible. You took a breath. You said, this is what we're going to deal with. It's more stressful online because there's more that can go wrong, but still take that breath, give yourself grace, and be able to look at ways in which you can work through things. Communicate with your children and significant others about what those priorities are. Be flexible with your hours and sit down and rethink your schedule. I have one staff member who she is teaching her kids at home, and they are home. They have been home since August. And so she does the majority of her work from 7 p.m. till like 12 p.m. She gets her stuff done. If she needs to be at a meeting during the day, she is. But rethink your flexibility in hours. Kirsten likes to do stuff late at night, but we do still attend meetings during the day. And talk with your direct supervisor about that, what that means. That next bullet is true, but also kind of funny. Keep everyone fed. Don't skip meals. We talk a lot about blocking time. And if you're looking at ways to prioritize your day, how many of you know what blocking time is? Do you do that for yourselves? Show of hands, yes? I see some no's out there. So if you don't block time, one of the things that you need to do is look at your calendar. And Cortana, if you have Outlook, I had it and then I lost it. I don't know what I did with it, but will block your time. And what it allows you to do is look at your calendar and say, do I have time to get the work done? And if I'm in back-to-back meetings, and I know a couple of you on this call, so I know some of you are in back-to-back meetings, do you have time to get done what you're signing up for in those meetings? So look at your calendar and use that as a tool for remote work, is blocking your time. Do you all share calendars? Can I see a nod or a clap or a share of hands? Are you able to see each other's calendars? So that's the main way in which you're communicating with each other, correct? Yeah? No? No. So that's something to consider, is if you don't share calendars with your team, share calendars. So like for ICSPS, we all can see each other's calendars. We can see when we're available, when we're not available, and when our time's blocked. And that really does help. Sorry, I'm getting all over the place now. Most important there is get outdoors, get exercise, and get moving. This pandemic is everywhere, and one of the big things that you can do is be in sunlight to produce vitamin D to help you combat COVID. So get outdoors, get exercise, and get moving. Relax, screen time. Take time away from the screen. Just because you're working from home and home all day does not mean you need to be sitting in front of your screen all day. Take breaks, take time, take pauses, take breaks for lunch. Don't work until the evening. And then also take a second to laugh. The next slide really looks at family support services. Flexible work schedules. Allow yourself the grace to be imperfect, and your employees, your parents, your significant other. Keep in mind we're only human, and we need to give ourselves some grace. Not saying that there's not accountability. There's absolutely accountability. But if I had something due at 8 a.m. this morning and I sent it out in an email last night at 7 p.m., it still met the deadline at 8 a.m., right? It still got there. So think about giving yourself just a little flexibility as to when you can complete tasks. So we're going to talk for a second about creating your workspace. So when you're working remote or when you're teaching remote, we want to create a comfortable workspace. And I showed you a little bit of mine showing around. Your head is your most important workspace. So you will need to have your head in the game to stay focused and avoid distractions. And that's what we've kind of talked about, that prioritizing and being disciplined. Where you can reasonably work is what is your ideal work environment. So think about that. Maybe post that in the chat. What is your ideal work environment? I see some smiles there. Are you thinking on a beach in Mexico? The Wi-Fi is not that good there. Yeah, I see the nodding. Okay. But think about what is your ideal work environment and what does that look like? Do you need a door? Do you not need a door? That really was the deciding factor in our home as to who got the office. I need a door. I need to be able to close off the rest of the house. My husband's sitting out in the family room. He doesn't do live presentations. He does tons of meetings, but not a lot of presentations. So he doesn't need a door. So prioritize what you need. Don't work in your bed. Don't stay in bed. Do not work all day in your bed and put the laptop down on the side of your bed when you go to bed and then pick it up in the morning. Get out of bed. Make your bed. There's also a lot of cognitive studies that'll tell you that if you make your bed in the morning, you're going to be fighting off Alzheimer's because it is solving a puzzle every morning, and that's good for your brain. Look it up. I'm not kidding. But don't just work in your bed. If you have to work in your bedroom, create a workspace in your bedroom, but don't be just laying in bed all day. That's not good for your psyche. That's not good for your mental health, and it's not going to be productive for your work. Avoid distractions. There is a lot of stuff on the news, right? You can shut it off to be at work. You wouldn't have it at work if you were in the office. Those dirty dishes that are in the sink, those can wait till later in the day. So avoid those distractions.
If I could just interject on this, but
Please.
also avoid those distractions like dirty dishes and stuff, but also plan your day around them. One of my favorite things about working from home is that when you were in the office, you took breaks, right? You would go talk to your coworker, you would use the restroom, you would get a drink, get a snack, fill up your coffee, whatever. So whenever I finish a task or finish a project and I just feel mentally drained, I will be like, okay, I'm going to go unload the dishwasher now just to kind of do something that's mindless and then come back to my work. And that's, my 10-minute break. So if you utilize your time well and plan for those breaks, then you are avoiding those distractions, but also using those as your breaks and accomplishing them as well.
I'm really glad you brought that up, and we'll get to routines in just a second, but I really want to acknowledge and you to think about when you're working in your home, when you're working remotely, that you don't have quite the same distance between things, and so you jam more into the day. So what I have found is instead of allowing myself 15 minutes between meetings because I need that time to walk to the bathroom and meet with staff and stuff, what I am doing is booking them back to back because literally on the other side of that wall is my bathroom. So I just walk out, go to the bathroom, come back. But that's not really good on my physical self. So I want you to think about that. Think about your steps. Think about making sure your physical health and your mental health are part of your remote working as well. Adhere to routines. Now, I am a love hater of the adhere to routines. I'm going to be completely honest. There are things I love about routines and there are things I hate about routines. I am blessed and cursed a little bit to be married to a gentleman who loves routine. So we get up at 6:15 and we have for the last 8 months, and we've both been at home. I've been at home for all 8 of those months. We get up at 6:15. The kids get up at 6:45 or 7 o'clock. We all have breakfast together, and then we walk the dog and do our thing and go about our day. Keep your rhythm when you're working from home. If you've gotten out of your rhythm while you have been on remote, get back into your rhythm, because having that routine really does help your mental health. It's going to help your work productivity. It's going to help you just getting along with others. It's going to help everything. So if you always got up and took a shower, get up and take a shower. If you always take a shower before bed, take a shower before bed. Those are really important things to look at. And we're going to share this out with Lori, but here is a review, 15 questions about remote work answered. They have some theories that I think are a little different, or I don't necessarily agree with, I'll just be honest. So for example, one of the things that they say is you need to get up and get dressed for work every single day. Now, I'm going to tell you, when I showed you around the room, you noticed that I wasn't exactly dressed for work, right? Did you see that? Yeah, it does happen. So I have my scarf on and I have a sweatshirt on today, because this is what you're seeing, right? There have been days that I've had my suit on up here and my yoga pants on down here, and that's okay. It's okay. Be comfortable. I'm sitting in this chair all day. No one is seeing any different. It's not like Kirsten's walking by me in the office saying, "Whoa, nice yoga pants, Amy." No, that's not happening. So it's okay to be comfortable, but also still be professional. I will say, when my makeup is not on and my hair is not at least somewhat done, I don't turn on my camera, but I do encourage you to turn on your camera as much as possible, because that's really going to help you engage with your students. 5 important routines to do and do's and don'ts. Really important. And these are not in exact order, but I think they really are prioritized well. Do take regular breaks from looking at your computer screen. It's going to help your eyes. It's going to help your spirit. It's going to help everything. So take regular breaks. Get up, walk around. Like Kirsten said, when she's finished a project and she just wants a break, get up and walk around. I go walk my dog at lunch. Try to walk him every day at lunch and try to walk him every morning before we start, just because I need to be outside. Don't insist on powering through an entire 8-hour day while staring directly at your computer. I'm going to try that again. Don't insist on powering through an entire 8-hour day while staring directly at your computer screen. You're going to end up tongue-tied like I am right now. So don't do that. Set up stationary workstations in your home. Set up a place to work. This is my back office. So I come back here and I work. When I'm not working, I'm out of the office. I don't take my computer to the bedroom with me. I don't mix things. I have, if I do take my phone, I am guilty of that, but I've been guilty of that for years. But have a designated workspace and a designated work item. One of the things for ISU anyway is my work computer is my work computer. So if I need to go Christmas shopping, I don't do it on my work computer just because it's here. I do it on my home computer or on this little device that's mine, my personal device. Keep that in mind. Keep those boundaries set and set those boundaries for yourself. Don't work while in bed. I know we've said it a couple times, but really don't. It's going to be a hard one to break, and it's going to really put you into a mental bad place. So don't work in bed. Do keep regular hours, including breaks. I get made fun of occasionally, calling people out, but I have lunch break on my calendar. Talk about time blocking. I saw a couple of you, Robert and Beth, you nodded when I said time blocking. So I have a lunch break. So every day from 12 to 1, lunch break. That is for me to know that especially right now when my family is home, I'm going to go out, I'm going to have lunch with my family, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to go back to work. Do I always take the whole hour? No, but it's blocked out there in that way. It also gives you a breather from other meetings. And if you're sharing calendars and having people see your calendar, that time's blocked off. So that's your time. Block in breaks. If you always took a 15-minute walk at 10:15 every morning, I have a coworker who does that every morning at 10:15. She's taking a walk. Great, take a walk, but put it on your calendar so I know you're doing that. Or she doesn't, and I call her, and then I get to talk to her while she's walking. Don't take 2 hours to cook lunch and then make up that lost time at the end of the day. That's not a good use of time, and that's going to kind of bite you later. So try not to do that. Do wrap up your day and check out completely. Go for a walk, do a meditation, change into sweatpants. I think that's a great, really good practice to think about. Don't continue working into the evening because you're near your computer and you can't think of anything else to do. Spend time with those other humans that are in your home. Reach out to your other humans that you would engage with. All of those things. Don't just work because you can. Don't get me wrong, and Kirsten knows I'm guilty of this. There are times that you have deadlines. And since the computer's right there and you're home, it's easy to power through those deadlines and get things done. I get that. Just don't make a habit of doing it every night. And then stay engaged socially. And we're going to talk a lot about the importance of having a social network at work. You had them when you were walking around campus. So how to maintain that social network while you're working remote. Don't let physical isolation lead to an emotional slump, and that's really important. So our next thing here is setting our work boundaries. This, I can't say I'm awesome at, but I really do try. So try to set this, again, we're presenting a lot of what the evidence-based research says and not necessarily what Kirsten and I are awesome at. Try to set office hours and let your supervisors and colleagues know. That is important. What are your hours? Are you working 8 to 4:30? Are you working 8:30 to 5? Are you taking an hour lunch? What are your hours? And I do adhere to that one. Our hours are the same as they were when the world was right side up as they are when it was upside down. Don't overpromise. Understand that realistically things are going to take a little longer when we're all remote, so don't overpromise. This is a word that I'm very bad at. Learn to say no. Say it professionally, say it courteously, say it politely, but know your limits, set your limits, and it's okay to tell your supervisor or to tell your colleague, you know, I can't do that right now. I can get to it next week. That's a nice way to say no without crushing the whole idea. Keep your calendar up to date. As we do move remote, that is really our best communication tool. Microsoft Teams is able to link to that if you're on Microsoft Teams. I'm not really sure which exact software you use, but I think even Outlook is what we use for our email, and you can share calendar. So our whole team shares, so I can see who's where and doing what. And that really has led to some really good collaboration. And again, back to that time blocking, saying, you know what, I need this time to catch up. I need this time to focus. Anybody have reports that they have to write for work? Yeah. Those don't just magically come together, right? No. So you need to time block out some time for, I'm going to be working on that report. Now, again, you might not have done that when you were all in person. I never did because I got it done. But now I need to say, hey, I need this day to do this. I need this day to do this. And it's really is important. Time blocking is really helpful in the remote world. Take your breaks. Time block, we already covered that. Take your breaks as you would at the office. You would not sit at your desk for 8 hours if you were in the office, right? You would not just sit there and power through without interruption, right? So don't do it at home. Take the breaks. Be sure you get up, walk around. Your blood circulation is needed. And then don't shortchange your mental health. If you want to move to the next one there. So we talked a little bit about this, and I love this cartoon. It says, I can't remember, do I work at home or live at work? Anybody ever felt like that? Yeah, unfortunately, we all have. Be sure that you set up your tone for the day and your productivity for the day. One way to ensure that you stay on track is to create time blocks. We talked a lot about that. It could look like this. Check email during the first time block of the day and the last time block of the day. Only hold calls between certain windows of certain hours. Manage the hours that you feel most alert, things of that nature. Those are all just suggestions. Kirsten, I'll let you take this next one. Be strategic about communication.
Yeah, so be strategic about your communication with your coworkers and with your boss specifically. Don't conflate brief communications and have clear communications. Don't bombard your team with messages. I think when the pandemic first hit, our team was a little guilty of just sending a lot of emails, almost like text messages. And then, like,
Mhm.
for example, I started this position 2 weeks. I worked in the office and then the pandemic hit. So I was trying to figure out as a new employee, what do I email? What do I text? What do I put on a Teams channel? I need this one thing. I need it urgently. Do I send an email? Do I send a text? Do I send a phone call? So finding out that kind of personal etiquette in your work etiquette between you and your boss, between you and your coworkers, between your whole team. So finding out what communication channels are specifically needed for what. And that comes with your work culture, that comes with your work environment, and that comes with your relationships with your coworkers and with your boss as well. So maybe you guys have that stuff down, maybe you don't, maybe that's something that you need to come up with protocols for, but all just suggestions. And then again, so that goes with establishing those communication norms, and that's autonomous based on your team and your work environment. And then see hidden opportunities in written communications, and create intentional space for celebration. So like I know on our team, we have an ICSPS channel on our Microsoft Teams, which is our virtual happy hour. And we share intentional things for celebration. We share things about work that are projects that we can kind of give each other positive feedback on. We can commend each other for. I know Amy's favorite term is to say you are a rock star. She tells me that about every other day. Maybe I need to get on stage and perform a show for her because she thinks I'm such a rock star. But we also share things like I threw my husband a surprise party for getting his new job, and I shared pictures of that. I got married recently. I shared pictures of my wedding. We share pictures of our pets, things like that. So intentional space for celebration for both personal and work environment, to have those strategic and clear communication, but also promote that positive work culture as well. So Amy, you can talk about the Ohio method here.
Yeah, and I do think having that personal mechanism, that personal water cooler, we'll kind of talk about in a little bit. And it's coming actually in the next couple slides, so I won't get ahead of myself, but is really important. Being able to have not only that professional discussion, but also those personal discussions, because these are your peers. I will say it is, if you've been working with somebody for quite some time, going remote is a little bit easier because you know their family, you know their cadence, you know all that stuff. Poor Kirsten was pushed 2 weeks. 2 weeks she was on the job with us live, and then she was pushed into remote work. So she just has done an outstanding job, but also she's adapted to all of our craziness pretty well. So create some acronyms, etiquettes, and norms. They joke about the acronyms that we have in our office, and we do have some for different things. So just think about that, what acronyms you use through your college, through your department, and do you have some that are just your norms? Respond Ohio, and this is only handle it once is what Ohio stands for. And when sorting email, if anyone's emails like my email, it is ridiculous the amount of emails you get in one day because there are so many people sending you emails. So Ohio is that idea of only handle it once. Does it need to be filed? Does it need my attention? Do I need to respond immediately, or can it wait? And so I've created files. So if I need it later, I have it. But if it doesn't require my immediate attention, then it kind of goes. Now, I will say, does my email still back up from time to time? Yes. But Ohio is a really nice way to look at your email. You don't want to be coming back to it. You don't want to sit in there over and over again. What is the purpose of the email? Or, and in my case, sometimes, is it even directly to me? Anybody else have those? Like you're CC'd on stuff that they're just wanting to make sure you're aware of, but you don't really have a role in it. So file that away, put it over here in your file system. If you're not using chat, use email subject lines, or if not using chat, use email subject lines intentionally. Anyone ever get an email that you're like, what is this? Right? So do each other a favor and use your subject lines intentionally. Also, don't put the body of the content in the email. There's a whole session that I could do on email etiquette that I've done on email etiquette. I can actually send that to Lori because it's recorded on our website. But one of the big things is do not post everything in your subject line. Put the subject and then post the stuff in the content. It's just easier for people to understand. And I will tell you, I have literally responded to people and said, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not in your brain right now. Can you let me know? And they're like, oh yeah, it's the whole, or I've seen the whole double line, full sentence in my subject line. Don't do that. That's not a good way to communicate, and it's going to throw people off. This next slide is so very important. Be kind to yourself. With so many people working from home, the bottom line is we probably won't be as productive, which has actually been proved to be untrue. We are more productive at home because we're more focused. To minimize frustration, though, it is important to reset your expectations around what productivity looks like. And be sure that you're flexible, give yourself grace. You can be very productive at home. My team is amazingly productive at home. Now, are they all sitting in their queues next to each other from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.? No. But are we all getting tons of work done? Yes. So be kind to yourself and give yourself grace as to what that reality does look like now. This next one we've been hinting around to the whole session, and I want to get to it now. So don't neglect workplace culture. Create a virtual water cooler. So we have a happy hour on our teams, a channel that is happy hour. If you are able to create your stuff in your new teams, you can do that. For some reason, ISU limits us. We can only have our own team, and then we have all the channels we want within our team. But create a virtual water cooler. You can have images on there. We discuss everything from the weather to the schools being closed to parents to weddings to parties and all of that good stuff. So that camaraderie, that space to connect with your coworkers is really important. And I don't want you to lose that when you go remote. Also, if you're bringing new people on and into your team, it is so very important to them to have a place to see you socially. And since we can't actually be in the same room, that's a good way to do that. Or when we are in the same room, we're masked. So it's a good way to do that too. A lot of research is out there on emotional intelligence and emotional contagions telling you that employees look and at their manager for cues. So how to react to a situation is really a trickle down effect. And I encourage you who are managers to be positive and maintain positivity. One of the things that, and I'm going to look real quick what I named it, but on our teams, I have so there's all this information coming out from the university around COVID and what were our responses to COVID and how we're going to manage COVID at ISU. And so our teams channel is titled Excelling in the Era of COVID. Yes, I am overly positive in that stuff. And it's because if not, the sad reality is it's not a positive situation, but we want you to think about that. So as managers, set that tone. I tell Kirsten, she is a rock star all the time because she is doing great work. So it's really important that we take that and we don't allow ourselves to really get that doomsday mantra going. I encourage you to take this opportunity to learn new skills. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to walk out and be like a Zoom amazing person or all this stuff, but take time to learn. Give yourself more time to get things done. I love this cartoon. Who needs training to keep up with technology trends? He says, me, you're fired. I only want people who already know how to do their job. He said, I did not see that coming. They don't have a class to fix that. So be sure that you're taking time to learn new things, taking time to learn these technologies. As I said, we didn't use Microsoft Teams. I'm pointing this way, like you can see my other screen, but over there is my Microsoft Teams. And so we didn't use that in January, February. ISU shifted us to that back last August. We used it a little, we dabbled, we talked, we chatted, but we didn't really go into the throes of it until we went remote. And so that's been something I've learned. Zoom, we were on GoToWebinar and GoToMeeting. Zoom was not something I spent a lot of time on. There is not a day now that goes by that I do not have a Zoom meeting or a Zoom chat. Wait, Saturday and Sunday, I do not. But any other day I do, unless I do family Zooms on those weekends, which that happens too. If there's anything you've been wanting to brush up on, this is now the time to do it. learn new skills, take this time and really take an opportunity to look at this as an opportunity of how we can enhance our digital delivery as a system, as a college for our students.
I also want to add to this to budget time to seek out help for technical issues. So hopefully you have a tech support person, and budget time, allow yourself time, give yourself empathy when those issues do happen. We joke at our center that technical issues are the new traffic for our conferences and our meetings that we have. And that's something that we're just dealing with. So lead with empathy, give your coworkers empathy, give yourself empathy when you have those issues. We have weekly webinars that I run on Wednesdays, and we've had those issues before, and you just have to run with it. And also, I will say when we did switch from GoToWebinar to Zoom, we underestimated how much time we really needed to figure out those technical glitches right at the beginning. So if your team is facing like a switch from one platform to another, or just learning how to use a new platform or learning how to use a new skill, make sure you're giving yourself ample time to do that. And I think that's something that we've learned from experience at our center as well.
As we move into this slide, I also want to, because I popped on, want to say that there is a series that we have put together on retention and engagement. It was designed for adult education across the state, but it is really beneficial to all students because we're talking about what are the technology mechanisms. Like today was harnessing technology. So how are you using Zoom, Google Classroom, Flipchart, and all of those other technologies to really harness technology to improve your engagement in your classes? It's recorded. It's going to be on our website. It's going to be a phenomenal session. We have 6 total sessions that we've done on recruitment in the digital world, and then also retention and engagement. And engagement is so important. We talked about learning communities, and if you're looking at faculty and how do you engage, but also think about with your constituency. Is there a learning community that you need to have around recruitment for the college? Is there a learning community around building a new program? And learning communities are really that opportunity to engage with one another. We're also sharing files or sharing information or just dialoguing. And how do you do that? And maybe a learning community is something you want to consider. Technologies to facilitate remote work. There is so much out there right now. And the one thing I want to say is pick what's right for you. Pick what works for you. There is nothing that says, oh, this is the best, do it. I do think it kind of cracks me up that the news gives so much accolades to Zoom. There are other platforms that do exactly what Zoom does. GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, WebEx, Google Meets, BlueJeans, there's quite a few. And so find what works best for you. Find your favorite. Find the one that works for you. Of course, you have to work within your institution. But there might be something that you haven't considered that really is out there. Do you want file sharing? How do you want to do file sharing? Is it secure? So like ISU, when we do our SharePoint and our Microsoft Teams, which is also connected to our SharePoint, it's a secure share. To invite somebody in from the outside, they have to basically like get a background check or something. Make sure they're validated. So be sure you're doing that. Look at virtual meetings and how to engage through virtual meetings. I love that all of you have been blowing up the chat and commenting. I am seeing those come through, and I do enjoy that because it allows us to have a conversation and allows people to dialogue. It's actually encouraged in the virtual platform, whereas passing notes in a meeting, remember, if we were to pass notes last year at this time, you would have gotten in trouble, right? Don't be passing notes during a meeting. But now you can pass all the notes you want through the chat. So do that. We encourage you to do that. And then look at project management platforms. Our center, that's one we are still struggling with. And we picked one that we're going to start in January, and we're going to run it for 6 months and see if it works. There's a lot out there. So find what works for you. And what's really important is what works for one area might not be ideal for the other. So find what's best for you. So the names I'm seeing here. So, Beth, you might have something that works phenomenally for you. And Robert might be like, not my thing. I'm not going to use that one. I like this other one over here. That's great. That's fantastic. Do that. Unless, of course, your college administration says you're using this one, and then do that. I don't want to get in trouble with Lori that I've said, pick one you like. So Lori, I apologize if I wasn't supposed to say pick one you like. Next slide there is really look, everything has a free trial period right now, literally everything. So try it out, see if you like it. Be aware though, that some of those things like what our project management systems, especially if your trial ends, all your data is deleted. So that can lead to issues. Look at the free trials. These 5 companies are providing free remote work tools. They also have tons of tutorials. The LogMeIn, which is your go-to suite, Zoom, Google Suite, Microsoft, and Cisco. BlueJeans is Verizon. They all have a ton of great work that is happening. And then they also have the ability to really look at giving you tutorials. So if you're not, again, we talked about, kind of upskilling there. If you're not proficient, take a couple days, watch a couple things on YouTube, take a couple minutes or hours. I'm like, if it's over 90 seconds, I'm not watching it, but take the time and look and learn, and you'll really, a couple minutes with any of those tutorials really does help you improve. We need to click ahead here because we have 8 minutes and a lot more slides. So let's click through these pretty quick. Office Essentials, that's just some things that are there. File share, we've talked about that. Virtual meetings, we've gone through a lot of those. Zoom, Google Hangout, Cisco. Again, we'll share this full slide deck with you. Pro tip for Zoom, you can change your background, and in Teams, you can blur and change your background. And then some of them don't have those features, so look at what's important to you. We've talked about instant messaging and chat, some project management platforms. So that brings us to, I wanted to allow some time for questions. What questions do you all have for us?
We have a lot of comments in the chat, which I'm loving this discussion, and I do want to put a plug in for our center if you're interested in. We have created, especially over the summer, we created a lot of professional development that is around mental health. And we had some great sessions. Amy, remind me who gave those sessions? We hired a
Nope, the session, the which one?
mental health sessions.
Oh, those were done by Shanna. And so we have a couple individuals who are certified in trauma-informed care and trauma-informed practices. And yes, we
yeah, they were amazing sessions. So definitely check those out. Those are on our website. We also have sessions on email etiquette. As Amy said, she's done a session on that. I've done a session on that. And so we're constantly creating professional development. So just a quick little plug. You can always visit our website and do that. And then a lot of you were saying that you really needed this today, which I'm so happy to hear. I think we don't take the time to think about these things because we're like, we don't have time to think about these things, right? They should be second nature to us. Why should I have to block out time to take my lunch every day? I should just be able to take my lunch. That was my mindset whenever I first started working from home. No, if I do not take my lunch, I won't take my lunch. And I've learned that the hard way. And then it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm on the phone with Amy and I haven't eaten dinner yet. So, and that's happened.
Yeah. Can you show the next slide so you all can have our contact information? Again, we will share this slide deck with Lori and she can send it out. All of the links in here are live. So I encourage you to check it out and look at some of the great resources. We did fly through those last few slides, but I also do not like going long on things. I want to allow time for questions. So you also can unmute yourself if you wanted to and ask if there's any questions you have or anything we didn't cover that you wanted us to cover.
So there's one thing that I've noticed since going, since we went remote in March is like in our individual offices, it seems like we are able to keep track of each other's schedules, but like with the campus as a whole, like when emailing people and everything, you don't know who's on vacation, you don't know who's on lunch, you don't know who's taking half a day. How do you guys handle that in your area, your department?
So in our department, we use Outlook. So let me bring it up and I'll show you here. I'm going to switch my you're going to come with me. So that's my calendar, okay, my Outlook calendar. And then on my team down here, you can see, if you see right there, you can see like if I pick Brittany or Molly, it shows their calendars as well, okay? So that is how we handle that within our department, is all of us are on Outlook. And then all of us are on the same team on Outlook. And so we all share our calendars with each other. So I can see like on election day, we were all off, or coming up, Brittany's sitter had a baby, so she's got kids home with her. All of that stuff is there, and everyone on the team can see. In addition to that, for my college, because I report up to my college, my supervisor, I am on his team, and all of the faculty that are in the EAF department at ISU, I can't see the detail. I can just see when they're available and when they're not available.
Okay, so on the teams, little where it says, like where it turns green, the bubble to show that they're available and everything.
We use Outlook for that, because Outlook allows me to see everybody on my team. But then also over here on Teams, let me see here. So you guys are getting just a little tour of my house, but so over on this screen, can you all see that screen?
Yeah.
Over here is calendar. And if I click my calendar, then anybody can see my calendar.
Oh.
And that will allow you to see you can go in and see what's on your calendar, and people can see things that way.
Okay.
Oh,
so
and that's
you can connect that through Outlook.
Yes, that's all connected through Outlook. Oh, sorry,
Cool.
that's backyard.
IT
Emily?
guys, I might need a little help here whenever we get done.
Emily, I do that with Pelt. I have access
Okay.
to all of Pelt's calendars, and it helps me because that way I can keep us all on the same page and schedule meetings without emailing 5 people 10 times. And I'd be happy to help you
Okay.
get that
It's not
set
so
up.
much like it's just like, I feel like whenever we're trying to reach out to other departments and stuff, like, I mean,
Mhm.
it'd be nice if they can see my sketch, but if in order for that to really work, like everyone would have to, incorporate that. So that's one thing that I feel like is the biggest struggle since COVID started, was just trying to have that communication between all of the other departments and not knowing if they took a partial day or if they had to leave for COVID reasons or and everything.
Right.
So
it also helps with scheduling. So on Teams, up in the corner, you have I'm pointing like you can see. You have the meet now or the new meeting, and it'll help you schedule. So if you select a new meeting and select who you want to invite, it'll help you look at their calendars as well. So that's a nice feature. But again, I might be a little old school. I just go onto the Outlook and I click, like if I want to meet with Kirsten, I click Kirsten's calendar. It populates everything that she has, because she has shared her detailed calendar with me, and I've shared my detailed calendar with her. Anything that you want to have private, because some of you are probably sitting there thinking, well, I've got a doctor's appointment on there. Put it as private. I have, or you can be like me and be like, guess what? My kid has practice tonight at 5:30, and yes, it's on my Outlook calendar, so I can remember it. And honestly, if Kirsten cares that my son has practice, it's okay. That's for her to care about. And if she's really that worried, that's fine. If my boss cares that at 5:30 p.m., which is technically after the workday, that my child has practice, he's never in the 15 years I've worked for him brought it up with me. But if he did, that's his problem. So, I mean, that'd be your policy. But that way I can see when she's in, when she's out, what's going on, all those things. And it's really, really helpful to coordinate and just know where people are.
I think another thing that will help too, if you're talking about communicating with cross departments, is that, I mean, it's probably unrealistic to think every single person in every single department is going to share their calendar, right? But when you are emailing them, requesting a meeting, first lead with empathy, give them time to respond back to you. I mean, you're not going to know if they left for a half day or whatever.
Yeah.
So give them, 24, maybe even 48 hours, whatever your protocol is, to respond to you and get back to you. And also give them times that work for you. If you don't have calendars shared, I feel like there's a lot of wasted time emailing people being like, oh, when would you like to meet? No. Just scratch that. And I talk about this under my email etiquette session too on our center's website. Be like, okay, these are the days that I can meet. Give them 3 or 4 options and they pick what works for them. chances of that one of those times working are very, very high. And we've implemented that in our center, and it saved us a lot of emails and a lot of time.
Okay.
One thing that I've noticed that I think works well too is within Microsoft Outlook's the scheduling assistant, where when
Yes.
you're going to be out of the office, you have it automatically send everybody else an email. I'm out of the office this afternoon. If you need help, call so-and-so. I'll return at such a time. That's been more people are using that on campus, and I think it's really helpful.
It is, yeah, it is helpful when, yeah, like you said, it just goes to if people use it or not. And sometimes you're just sitting there like, are they gone for the day? Are they not? And they don't update it, and or update that and put that on there. So then you're like, well, they're here. They should be here, right? And then if it's a time sensitive issue, then you're like, I don't have their phone number. Like, can I call them through Teams? Is that okay? Is that where they get mad if I call them through Teams and then they're at a doctor's appointment? It's just there's always like, you know, sometimes there's time sensitive stuff that you're like, okay, are they there? Are they going to see us? Are they just at lunch? Are they going to be back in an hour? Are they going to be back in 30 minutes? So that always gets a little, you know, it's not like you're here, you can like on campus and you just call and be like, hey, are you in? Or hey, is so and so in? So that's been the biggest thing for me, I feel. But yeah, I'll have to try to, Kathy, I'd love to get with you sometime and try to do the whole Outlook and the Teams email thing and get that going.
Well, and
Just holler
also
at me.
Kirsten's talking about protocols, like we actually have a document. We don't. So we don't. We just have basic common practices that we've all agreed on. So like if you're out for a doctor's appointment, you put your doctor's appointment on your calendar, and that way we know that. So if I needed something and it was on fire, I can look at the calendar and say, oh, Kirsten had a doctor's appointment today, or oh, Amy's going to the chiropractor today, things like that. It's not that we're doing it to micromanage, because we have our university policies as to what time you get for doctor's appointments, and we follow those. But it really is just for communication, so we know. So if I needed something, like let's say our website went down, and I know that Kirsten is taking her dog to the vet, then I need to know that so I can call her and freak out on the phone with her instead of over email, you know, just like that. But also we all do have we are an 8-man team, so we're a much smaller team.
I think something that works well for here at the college, I think a lot of people do use Outlook. But like Emily, you know, you don't have access to my calendar, but you still could go into new meeting or new appointment, I think it's called. And then if you click on scheduling assistant and you type my name, you're going to see when I'm available and when I'm not.
Oh, okay.
So we can show you that as well, but you can see that for anybody on campus. And it's only good if they use their Outlook, but I think more people use it than don't at Rend Lake.
Yeah, I'm a scheduler, so like with like the business office calendar, I'm always like entering the dates, because like I want to be able to see like, you know, who's here when and know like what meeting, like I'm just, yeah. So then whenever like I don't know where everyone else is and I can't pick up that phone, it's just like, so I'll have to try those and see if that helps with the remote working. I appreciate all that.
If your Outlook looks like my Outlook, which I have no idea if it does, one of your options is join me in Teams, and then it just gives you a link to that Teams, so you can meet within your team on Teams. The catch with us is we do a lot of work with individuals who are not at ISU, so our Teams is only accessible to ISU, so I'd have to use my other private Teams to do that. But if you're looking for meetings, you can just set up a meeting and then it gives you a link and everything, so you don't need Zoom. But Zoom also has that, and Skype meeting. Office 365 has really kind of upped their game to be coordinated. So ISU, we can meet in Skype meetings and we can meet in Teams. Just things to think about. But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff out there and a lot of free stuff out there.
Gotcha.
Now we're over time. What question?
Sorry.
No, this is great. We're here for you. So whatever you need.
Well, I appreciate so much for you sharing with us. And, you know, if you want to send your presentation, we have our in-service training set up in Canvas. I can post it there, and also information about going to your website to look at all the other videos that you have out there and available.
Great. Yeah, I'll send you some fun links, Lori, as well as this as a presentation. And if you can share that out with everybody.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Hope you learned something. And again, if you have any questions, Kirsten and I are very happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thanks.